4 years ago, my world crumbled. I, 21F, discovered that the man I had called Dad my entire life wasn't my biological father. It was like waking up in a reality that wasn't mine anymore. It started when I was 17. My dad, let's call him Mark, suddenly became distant. Not completely, just enough that I felt it. I noticed him favoring my younger sister, 15F now. It was small at first, more smiles, more patience, but then it escalated. More gifts, more time spent together, more whispered conversations between him and my mom that stopped when I walked in. I didn't get it at the time, but now, it makes perfect sense. One night, I overheard my mom crying in the kitchen. Mark was muttering something about a DNA test. Something about betrayal. I froze. He stormed out, and when I asked my mom what was going on, she said, "It's just stress. Don't worry about it." I should have worried. I should have asked more questions. A year later, when I turned 18, the truth was finally revealed. My father had taken a secret paternity test. My sister was biologically his. I was not. The moment I found out, my entire existence felt like a lie. I confronted him, trembling, asking why he didn't just tell me. He hugged me, assured me that blood doesn't change love, and that I would always be his daughter. I believed him, but those were just words, because months later, he left. He didn't say goodbye, didn't explain. One day, he was just gone. He moved to a new house, and I only found out through my sister, who casually mentioned that Dad had taken her to see his new place. That's when I realized he only took her, not me. For the first time in my life, I felt completely abandoned. And the worst part, he didn't even have the decency to tell me to my face. For a full year, he would pick up my sister every weekend. My mother didn't fight it. Maybe she felt guilty. Maybe she didn't care. I don't know. I tried to be strong, but it destroyed me. Every Friday night, she'd pack a bag, and I'd watch from the window as he drove off with her, leaving me behind like I never existed. The loneliness nearly killed me. Then, one day, out of nowhere, he invited me over. My sister's birthday party. It was at his new house, the house I'd never seen, never been invited to before. When I walked in, it felt so foreign. 3 bedrooms, a cozy living room, family pictures on the wall, but not a single one of me. I didn't exist there. His new girlfriend, now wife, greeted me warmly. She seemed genuinely nice. She had just given birth to their baby, and she introduced me to her sister as Auntie. I was surprised. I didn't expect that. But then she pulled me aside later and whispered, "Sorry about calling you that. I wasn't sure if I should. Mark told my family he only has 1 child." I felt my stomach drop. "What?" I whispered back, my throat tightening. She looked at me with pity. "When he proposed, he told everyone he only had 1 daughter. I assumed you were no contact or something. I'm sorry." He erased me. The man who raised me for 18 years, who once promised I'd always be his daughter, told an entire new family that I didn't exist. I held it together for the rest of the party. I smiled. I played with the baby. I didn't let myself break until I was home alone, where no one could see how much it shattered me. After that, I started seeing the signs I had ignored. He had never once told me he loved me after the DNA test. He strung me along for years, promising to pay for college, but never did. He showered my sister with love, but never did the same for me. So I made a decision. I cut him off. Not in a dramatic way. I didn't scream or confront him. I just stopped. Stopped texting. Stopped visiting. Stopped pretending I was wanted. It's been 2 years since then. He never reached out. Not once. And that silence told me everything I needed to know.
I, 29F, have been with my husband, 31M, for 7 years. Married for 4. We've had a solid relationship at least. That's what I thought. We welcomed our first child, a beautiful baby boy, 5 months ago. Motherhood has been overwhelming but rewarding, and I've been pouring everything into taking care of our son. My husband, T, was excited to become a dad, but lately I've noticed something off. At first, I thought it was just stress or sleep deprivation. Parenthood changes everything, right? But then, things started getting weird. One night, around 2 a.m., I was in the nursery breastfeeding. I had just gotten the baby to latch when T walked in. He was shirtless, rubbing his eyes like he'd just woken up. I smiled at him, expecting a sweet moment. But instead, he walked behind me and started massaging my shoulders. It was nice at first. But then his hands slid lower, running down my sides. I shifted uncomfortably. "What are you doing?" He leaned in, pressing his lips to my neck. "You just look so sexy like this." My entire body tensed. I immediately pulled away. "T, I'm literally feeding our son." He sighed dramatically and backed off. "I was just complimenting you." Then he walked out, like I was the one who had done something wrong. I tried to shake it off. Maybe he was just being affectionate in a sleep-deprived haze. But then, it happened again. This time, it was in the middle of the afternoon. I was sitting on the couch, exhausted, with our son latched on, scrolling mindlessly through my phone. T sat down next to me, a little too close. His hand was on my thigh, and he kissed my shoulder. I sighed. "Not now, babe." His grip tightened. "Come on, you're always busy with the baby." I pulled away. "I told you before I don't feel comfortable with this." He exhaled sharply through his nose, rubbing his face like I was the problem. Jesus, I didn't think having a kid meant I'd be cut off completely. That stung. I wasn't cutting him off. I was exhausted, healing, and literally keeping our child alive. I didn't have the energy to argue, so I let it go. That was a mistake. Last night, I was in bed, half asleep, breastfeeding our son when I felt hands on my hips. I froze. Then T started grinding against me from behind, trying to pull my pants down. I was too shocked to react at first. It felt so wrong. After a long silence, I whispered, "I need to sleep." He sighed like I had just rejected him at a bar, then rolled over and left the room. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, numb. I didn't even cry. I didn't even move. Something inside me just broke. The next morning, I confronted him. "Me, why do you keep doing that? I've told you to stop. I don't feel comfortable." Him, "I can't help it, okay? You're always with the baby. I feel neglected." I felt a cold chill run through me. Neglected? Was he serious? I turned away, disgusted. But then something caught my eye, his phone on the nightstand. It was unlocked. He went into the bathroom. I hesitated for half a second before picking it up. And I wish I hadn't. First, I checked his texts, nothing suspicious. Then I opened his email. A thread titled, "Breastfeeding Kink," made my stomach drop. I clicked it. It was a forum thread. He had been actively posting about his newfound fetish for lactation and how it turned him on like nothing else. But the worst part? He was talking to other people about it. There were messages to other users asking for advice. DMs to women in the same forums, asking if they had ever shared their milk with their partners. I felt sick, and then I found the pictures. I don't even know how long I stared at the screen. Photos of me breastfeeding. Some of them were clearly taken without my knowledge, angles that suggested he had snapped them when I wasn't looking. My hands started shaking. When T came out of the bathroom, I was still holding his phone. He saw my face and immediately knew. Him, babe, it's just a stupid curiosity. Me, you lied to me. You made me feel insane, like I was overreacting. The whole time you were getting off on this? His face turned red. I never actually did anything. I just talked about it online. I was so furious, I almost believed him. But then, I kept scrolling. And that's when I saw it. A message exchange. With another woman. He had sent her one of the stolen pictures of me. And she had sent one back. My breath caught in my throat. Me. You were cheating on me. He ran a hand through his hair. It's not what it looks like. Me. You sent another woman a picture of me without my consent, and you're telling me it's not what it looks like. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Silent. I grabbed my son and left the house. I've been staying at my sister's place for the past 3 days. T keeps calling, texting, begging me to just talk to him. His family says I'm overreacting. That he didn't physically cheat, that it was just a harmless interest. But I feel violated. He took pictures of me in an intimate, vulnerable moment. He shared them. He touched me without my consent while I was breastfeeding our child. I don't even know if I can look at him the same way again. Right now, I don't know what my next move is. But I do know one thing. I deserve better. Update. I just contacted a lawyer.